Welcome back to the United Pubcast. I'm trying not to smile. I'm not sure why a smile is on my face, but the alarms were set for 3:20 a.m. here in Sydney. It is now 5:40 a.m. Larry said, "Let's go live." So apologies, Larry, not being with us. I'm not sure where he is. He urged me make sure we do a stream post match. He was talking to me at halftime. Here we are at full time, nowhere to be seen. So good to have Param off the bench, providing a little bit more depth on the off the bench than Manchester United were able to produce at the Emirates Stadium. But here we are, Param. 5:40 a.m. Monday morning. Okay, the week is ruined. We've all accepted that. We have to deal with that as men. Obviously, what happened on the pitch was, look, ultimately, in terms of the balance of things, in terms of where Arsenal are and where Manchester United are, they beat us by the odd goal. I think that's kind of reality. That's okay. We accept that, but ultimately, it does sting like butter.
Yeah, I just think it was one of those performances where you're really just riding your luck. And we've seen in the past when you go to the Emirates, once in a while you can ride your luck, and it does work out well when the keeper makes about 15 saves. But today wasn't one of those days. 3 goals conceded, and uh, I'd say pretty good goals to concede. One of them especially. No complaints about it. But yeah, no complaints with the result because of how we played, and you don't want to lose to an Arsenal side, but if you lose to a side playing the way they did today, not too many complaints from
Yeah,
my end.
look, I think that is one of the things, and we'll not complain, but we'll moan about certain things and
Yeah,
this and that. But ultimately, the result, Arsenal are the better team. Arsenal deserve to win. I don't think it's one of those where we can sort of blame a referee or blame sort of Manchester United's effort or anything. It was just Arsenal a better team. They beat us on the day. That definitely does sting, but we do have to deal with that. And Eric Ten Hag and the players do need to sort of, as I said in the last one, win or learn.
yeah,
So I'll just say that some people in the live chat. Obviously, a very good morning to everyone in Sydney. Matt, good to see you, mate. Adam, the result really hurt. Stephen as well. All these guys from Sydney up early, bright and early, which is good to see. Some morning gents, 1 point thrown away. Yes, look, we'll get into the sort of points and title race, top four race. Adam here, last 2 games, 90th minute goal conceded, really annoying. We'll
tell
get
me
in
about
this
it.
if there's anything in that, or ultimately there'll be nothing in it if we're scoring the 90th minute goal. Obviously, we're going to have to dissect it a little more on the defensive side of things. Adam here as well. Arsenal weren't good until the 75th minute. I disagree with that. I thought Arsenal. Look, I would need an Arsenal fan to say I think it was.
It's not easy dominating the ball this much against a United team. I know
Yeah,
Casemiro wasn't there today, but the way they
I,
dominated the ball, 25 shots, not too many complaints
yeah,
with.
look,
I feel like,
for me, I've watched a lot of Arsenal this season. In regards to the occasion and the intensity of the match, you could argue that's Arsenal's best performance of the season. I'm sure Arteta will be doing that. It's obviously fair play to them. And George, good to see you, mate. Good day, Tom and Pram. Got to close them down. But yeah, we'll get into that in regards to not an effort thing. We'll discuss that. Not an effort thing, but just in regards to the approach in regards to defending that final third, especially Luke Shaw against Bukayo Saka at times is a little bit, oh, what's he doing there? Could he do something better? But obviously, Luke Shaw has had a good season. So, look, this is a one off game. It definitely does hurt. And look, we're right to criticise the players. And look, if we want to get into Ten Hag as well, they're obviously valid opinions. But I just urge everyone, just take a step back, remind where we were at the start of the season, where we were at the end of last season. And
not
we're
a
in a,
bad place to be, Tom. Not a
yeah,
bad.
we're doing fine. So it hurts, but take a step back and just sort of appreciate where we are and where Eric Ten Hag will take us. But starting 11 for him comes out now before kickoff. Only set the alarm 10 minutes before kickoff. So
Yeah, well,
set
we,
the
we
alarm.
we have to combine all that 1 hour of stress the UK fans have got into like 5-10 minutes before the game, so not too
So
much
look,
time to process.
3 a.m. the alarm is set. I thought first name on the team sheet, like every other Manchester United fan this week, was okay. Fred's going to line up in midfield.
Yeah,
Fred's on the bench. So Eric Ten Hag has gone for something a little bit different. He's gone McTominay and Ericsson.
yeah,
Back four picked itself. I think that's what we expected. And obviously, I was under the impression it could have been Garnacho on the left with Rashford through the middle. He's obviously gone with Veghorst and Anthony on the right. So, just your first impression when you did see the team news? Were you
yeah.
shocked? Could you see what he's
I
doing? Or
was expecting us to sort of just try and pack the midfield with those four when Bruno plays out wide with Fred as a midfielder. Give Ericsson that freedom, which I think Ericsson needs. I don't think he has the legs cut out for a Premier League midfield too. Um, Certainly
hmm.
not over the course of a 38 game season. I think we're being proven on that point now, as class as he's been at some points. Just on that with the lineup, McTominay comes in when McTominay is playing well. Obviously, we saw at the start of the season he was keeping Casemiro out of the squad, so not too many complaints with how the midfield was picked. And I think we needed Weghorst, and if we played to Weghorst's strengths, I think we would have done a lot better today. But
Yeah,
looked like Weghorst was one of our deepest players. He was playing in midfield, it felt like at times when he had to track back.
Well,
But
I want to get
not
in the
too much
approach
else.
from Ten Hag in regards to how that relates to Weghorst and both defensively and attacking. But just here, look, no complaint of the referee. We just said, but Prem, just before we went live, I was having a discussion with you. I'm with
Yeah.
Emad now. I haven't seen a replay. This could prove me wrong. They were checking the wrong offside. They were checking the
Yeah.
wrong offside.
Let's have a
Now,
look.
look, Arsenal deserve to win, okay, but fair play. I'm telling you, if they put the lines out for this one, look, maybe they haven't. Maybe it's been proven to be onside. My first reaction, checked that one, and I thought that was quite convenient, the VAR and the referee, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, if
No
it
sour
was,
grapes.
then I have something to complain about for the next week. But until we know for sure, I'm sure Emad's 100% confident on that. But until we
No,
see the replay,
definitely.
let's hold off on that one.
Well, I want to get into the approach from Eric Ten Hag, and
Yeah.
as I said, how that relates to about Weghorst and his inclusion. But just a few more comments before we do crack on. Matt here, we've played a few games in a short amount of time, which is something we forget as fans and we don't want to accept as fans. But ultimately, the fixture pile up is going to take its toll, and that's as I said, something we do need to sort of cut a little bit of slack in regards to the players. Steve, you need a three-man midfield to handle Arsenal's attack. Definitely outnumbered, and I thought that was why I thought Bruno would be on the right, not Anthony. We'll get in Anthony. I thought Anthony was sort of fine and maybe provide a little bit of a threat. But in regards to the tactical side of the game, I thought, maybe you could have had that fourth midfielder in Bruno Fernandes. Sweets here, an Arsenal fan, good game, United fans. We'll shift for 75 minutes, but when we switched up a gear, you couldn't hang with us from where you came. This is good. Don't be so down. Look, we'll be down, but good to have you here, mate. Hopefully you do enjoy your day. And look, Arsenal deserve to be win. And ultimately now I think that's a huge step to Arsenal's title challenge. I think now that puts them in good stead. They obviously have the 2 games against Manchester City. But I think now it's Arsenal's title to lose. And obviously, as a Manchester United fan, that's painful. But ultimately, given the choice of City and Arsenal, I think 99% of United fans will say, okay, give Arsenal the title. So, look, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
A few more comments in the live chat, but we'll crack on with a bit of, look, I'm not a fan of tactical discussion at 5:45 on a Monday morning, Pram, but here we are. Just the approach, I respect it and I admire what Eric Ten Hag is doing, but you look at the start of the season in regards to that Brighton and Brentford match, what he was trying to do, and it wasn't working. Next week said, stuff it, change it, I'm going to suit my players. Ultimately, it felt like this in the first, and it's not really a criticism of the way Manchester United were doing it or the personnel. It's Arsenal's strength. Arsenal were defending very well. I think Manchester City might have struggled to play out of the back the way Arsenal were defending. I just said it wasn't working. Now, yes, maybe once or two we could play through, and obviously I was being proven wrong. But 9 times out of 10, Arsenal will get the better when we're playing out from the back. And I just thought, with Weghorst up front, you have an option, hit him. And I just thought we're playing ourselves into trouble. Not so much ourselves, we're playing into Arsenal's strengths. And I just thought, okay, you play Weghorst, I would have gone with something different. Okay, but now you have that option, use it. And we didn't. And it definitely looked like an instruction. And look, I'm not criticising Eric Ten Hag, but it definitely looked like the players didn't want to be doing it. The players would prefer to go long, and they weren't. And that tells me, okay, Eric Ten Hag said, no, regardless of what's happening, you're going to do this. And ultimately, it's proved costly.
Yeah, I think there's a few things at play. Obviously, the players, Ten Hag, first season, they're not used to playing out from the back. So there is that tendency just to think about Van Gaal, think about all the other managers like Jose that tried to find Fellaini further up the pitch, and Ten Hag's basically trying to break down those tendencies step by step. And apart from that, it goes back to how we played under Ollie. You know, whenever we played in a big game under Ollie, it was all about the counterattack. It was all about playing this sort of game, which you can't really repeat over and over again. I feel over the course of a season, you know, playing a really nitty gritty game. And for me, I just feel that's what Ten Hag's trying to do, and it's what Arteta did. You have to be audacious in these big games because it's the only way we're going to learn. It's the only way we're going to ever learn if we play a midfield, if we like this with Eriksen deeper, if we ever learn avoiding the whole McFred situation. It's the only way you actually get to that next step is by working through these growing pains.
Yeah, no, it's an unnecessary sort of evil you do have to go through, unfortunately. Just comment here and look when you're playing out from the back, and obviously it didn't work. Obviously, a lot of the sort of eyes will be directed to David De Gea because obviously not a strength of his game. But so David De Gea is going to come up for most of the criticism. And here, George, I honestly don't know what we're doing from the back with David De Gea against Arsenal. It was a bold move to play like this, which I completely agree. But in regards to De Gea, yes, okay, the passes you think, he could do better there. The huge thing for me was Casemiro not there. I think even if you pass Casemiro the ball or not, just the option there. I thought it was simply not there. Ericsson, McTominay doesn't do that. We know that. Ericsson doesn't do that after what happened at Brentford. He's very reluctant to go into that area. So I just thought just that body in there just changed the dynamic of playing out from the back, because the last
was a lot.
Yeah, the last couple of months, whether you think we're good at it or not, we have been doing it well enough. We haven't been playing ourselves into trouble, and that is because Casemiro sits in there. So it's not a criticism of McTominay or Ericsson. I just think you definitely saw the difference, and I think David De Gea
will really have two Casemiros in the squad. So yeah, that's just something we have to sort of live with.
But what do you think was the bigger telling point? Was it David De Gea and maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka not blame Aaron Wan-Bissaka, or was it the personnel in midfield who wasn't actually?
For me, what I noticed in the game, obviously, I'm very happy to shit on David De Gea for how he plays last couple of seasons. Not as much of a fan as I was before, but I think it was a lot more of the fullbacks sitting higher up, and just that sort of what we said with Ten Hag, that miscommunication where some of the players felt like we were playing direct today, and that pass to the fullbacks wasn't on. And there's a couple times in the game where players make a pass thinking the man will be there. Like they've done the training all week and they've just thought without looking, they've made that pass. De Gea did that, Shaw did that a couple times, and it's just one of those things. The guy wasn't there in that spot at that time. So distribution numbers look really bad, but it's a two-way street for me. And I think Shaw was guilty of it, playing higher up. And same thing with De Gea. He needs to be getting his head up before he receives that ball, because there won't be enough time for him when he's being pressed after.
Look, I think that is the way to look at it in terms of this comment here from Adam today. Prove why we need a keeper who can play with his feet, which I do agree, but I also look in terms of what I think was the bigger sort of telling point was the personnel around him in terms of their decision-making didn't help David De Gea. Now, ultimately, he has to take responsibility when the ball's at his feet for a better decision and better execution. But I think it was a combination of everything, and Arsenal were sort of, as a team, all on the same page. Everyone on the ball and off the ball knew exactly what was happening. I thought
it's clockwork over there at the moment. It's amazing to see what happens when all your players are in rhythm like this. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and when it does happen, you sort of find yourself at the top of the table. If it doesn't happen, you find yourself where we are, sort of in and around that fourth spot. So, look, ultimately, David Hay needs to do a little bit better, but I think the players around him. But obviously, it will happen. Eric Ten Hag, he's 19 games in his Premier League season, or 20 games, whatever it is. So, a little bit of patience there. Obviously, there is a few reports. The Manchester United scouts were in Portugal throughout the week watching Porto's goalkeeper. If there's anything in that, that'll be very interesting. I'm sure we'll have plenty of discussions about that over the coming weeks. Stephen here. I'm one of the biggest Shaw fans, but he's our biggest liability today. I was expecting a change in our left back after 75 minutes. Yeah, I thought the fullbacks, look, it's a tough game. You're up against the team coming first and potentially the two best wingers, informed wingers in the league. A tough occasion for them. So, yeah, ultimately, Luke Shaw, I don't think, was at the races today, and I've been sort of hit and miss with my criticism of Luke Shaw.
Just on that, think about how Arsenal defended Rashford today. Every time Rashford got the ball, it was that sort of Mbappe-esque vibe where anything can happen. And Arsenal sort of tried to deal with it. They didn't deal with it, obviously, that well, but they tried to deal with it with an extra man coming across from midfield or the winger. And it just felt like at some times, well, actually the whole game, Rashford wasn't tracking back to double up on Saka. So if you leave Shaw on an island with Saka, best of luck, because Saka's one of the best wingers in the league. And you saw what he's able to do when he gets a bit of space today. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka, probably the one guy I trust one-on-one more than anything in this world. But I don't expect Luke Shaw to do better. I think it's more of a team thing. Defense is a very team-orientated thing for me. And
I've heard our left back today. Over the years, and look, Marcus Rashford, great goal. We'll get into that, and obviously has been in fantastic form. Defending left wing has never been his strong point. Has always been a huge criticism of mine, and ultimately we can point the finger when we see Luke Shaw defending, and if a player goes past him or scores, ultimately there's a reason why maybe he gets double upped on, and that's obviously a little bit further forward. So that's another discussion in regards to Marcus Rashford. But Jay, good to see you, mate. The 3 years in the making, I do respect the board in this day and age to give Arteta and that much time will hopefully pave the way for clubs like ours, which, look, that is the positive I'm taking from this, and not this one isolated match, but in terms of Arsenal being top of the table, I have to look at just give Eric Ten Hag the time, because we're going to go through a hell of a bad spell after this, and not specifically right away, but next season. We might finish second this season, and we might finish 10th next season. We have to stick with Eric Ten Hag. You do need to learn from what Arsenal are doing, not the way they're playing or what Arteta does on the sideline. just in terms of patience. Let him get what he wants. If he wants to sell Ronaldo, let him do this. That's the first step. You want to sell Harry Maguire, let him do that. You want to bring in a Dutch player we've never heard of, let him do that. You need to see what Arteta's been doing at Arsenal and learn from that. And obviously that's a discussion for when new owners come in, what they want to do. Fingers crossed we don't get a Todd Boehly coming in and changing everything. But we do need to learn from what Arsenal have done, because they've done it the right way. Manchester United have done it the wrong way for far too long. So fingers crossed we can get on the right track. Now, before we go on.
Yeah, I was just thinking, over the past 5-6 years, we've had a very on and off record against Arsenal, and I wasn't that worried about it because neither of us were really in contention for the league. And I remember Ahmad and everyone talking about the games this morning, in the past, obviously early 2000s, way before my time, whatnot. And it's really sad because this is one of the games that Arsenal fans are going to talk about when they win the league this season.
It definitely feels. Look,
it's one of those games, back and forth goals, all action on their end. It's one of the games they're going to remember, and it's one of the games I'm going to be reminded of by my Arsenal fans. Friends.
Yeah, no. Look, when that goal went in, as I said, I thought it was potentially offside. Like my first glance, replays potentially proved me wrong. But when Nketiah put the ball in, it wasn't. Everyone's reaction when you can see the last minute defeat. It's crushing. Yeah, you've TV out the window. So I didn't really have that emotion. My emotion was the ball went in. I was like, won the title. Like it was a title winning moment. No, I think Arsenal win the title now. I'd be shocked if they throw it away. They've got the momentum. City obviously had their eyes elsewhere in regards to their Champions League ambitions, and obviously haven't been the team that they once were. So fair play to Arsenal. 2004 was their last title. They've waited long enough. They haven't been the most patient fan base, but fair play to the fans who have sort of stuck by their club over the years, and fair play. But that is a discussion for Manchester City and Arsenal fans to have. We need to sort of look back now, Prem, and sort of realise what our ambitions were at the start of the season. Not one Manchester United fan was talking about a title. We had other fish to fry, and obviously that is in regards to top four and potentially a cup, which obviously cup football starts now in regards to, I think, our next 3 games are 2 League Cup games and an FA Cup game. So that might be a good thing, just sort of refresh the batteries and sort of get a little bit of rotation in this. That is maybe the positive I'm taking from it. But how do you react as a fan in regards to that? At the start of the season, let's try and get into a Europa League qualification. Maybe we can, if we have a good season, we can have a Champions League sort of run. Ultimately now, for 2 or 3 days, we'll think, could we actually sort of get into a title race? And that's sort of deflated now that we've been sort of brought back to reality. But also our reality was a positive one a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about top 4.
Yeah, I went into this season with no expectations. It's probably the most fun I've had watching United play. I know it's not one of the best seasons we've had in recent times. Obviously, finished higher up with Jose, but just the fact that there's no pressure on us right now. This is something that we won't have. Manchester United is associated with winning trophies and whatnot, but this year feels like the one time where it's just about getting everything right, sorting out all the cobwebs in the drawer, everything just one step at a time. And I think we've cleared a lot of those out. We sold Ronaldo, who was a big dilemma for the squad. The way we play, I didn't think Ten Hag would be able to get this going this quickly. The way we set up with the 3-1-6, whatever it is, 3-6-1, it's really nice to watch. It's really nice to watch us dominate the smaller teams and win those games comfortably. And that's a feeling I haven't had in a while. Obviously, Elise scored that wonder free kick, but if it's going to take these wonder goals from Saka, Elise to score against us to win games, I'm okay with that, because over time, especially in these knockout competitions, we've got players capable of those moments, and we've got a defense that is, for the majority of the time, rock solid. Now, conceded 3 goals, probably not the argument you want to make today, but I'm satisfied with a lot of the defenders we've got at the club now.
No, look, I agree, and it is one of those things you'd have to sort of just remember sort of what the goals were at the start of the season, and ultimately Arsenal deserve to be where they are. I think they'll win the title. Box says a little bit earlier he thinks Man City will win. Ultimately, if Manchester City do the double over Arsenal, that does change things, and we'll have another discussion. But Ed here, this is not all doom and gloom. The title run talk was ridiculous when you look at where we were and what point of the new process we are.
You have to dream, Ed.
Top 4 has to be part of the goal, and hopefully some silverware as a bonus. Look, I agree. If you are still happy with where Eric Ten Hag has Man United, please do leave a like on the video and cheer us up. It's almost coming on at 6 a.m. in Sydney, so I don't think any other Man United fans will be sort of going live on YouTube at 5:30 in the morning. But Is there anything else on the match before we get into the dreaded situation of 3-2-1s after a defeat?
Yeah.
Is there anything football related still you want to bring up?
I just feel like obviously it's in a loss, but I said this at halftime. Another goal for Mr. Big Six, Marcus Rashford, and what a goal!
It was a nice
We're
goal.
not going to be able to talk about it
Yeah.
because obviously you can counteract it with you lost the game. But just the technique, beating his man, you don't see players in this sort of form very often. And I was always thinking for the past few weeks, Rashford's run in the 1920 season under Ollie, when we versed Tottenham and Man City that week, was better. But this is a man that's possessed even greater. And it's that whole Mbappe energy, and it's not just the fact that they're left wingers and they like running at people. It's the fact that he doesn't track back on defense. There's a lot of similarities to the way they play because every time you get the ball to his feet, whether it's in behind or with the defender in front of him, he's just gonna do something magical right now. And
Yeah, no,
you
look,
hope
it was a
that we get
brilliant
this.
goal.
Yeah, I
Brilliant
just
goal.
hope
And
he
look,
plays like this later on when we're actually winning titles.
oh no, that's the challenge for him and Eric Ten Hag, and obviously
Yeah.
contract situation will obviously play a huge part in that. And a brilliant goal, obviously great bit of skill to go past Partey, and a great finish. Will be fascinating at the other end. You haven't heard a peep out of Aaron Ramsdale. If that was David De Gea, it can't be beaten by the near post. And I just think that's fascinating how we sort of view that as football fans in terms of what a goal by Rashford. If that was at the other end, we're crucifying the goalkeeper, and I don't think Ramsdale deserves any criticism for it. I think it was a brilliant shot. But the near post narrative obviously doesn't come up when it's not a Manchester United goalkeeper. Before we move on to 3-2-1s, Prem, we touched on Weghorst, and obviously more so from playing out from the back in terms of if you got the option to go long, go long. Box brings up to Weghorst hasn't been provided with one chance in 2 games. The one chance he did was the one time we crossed it. Luke Shaw against Crystal Palace, put a ball in the box, Weghorst got his head on it. And I just think, obviously, Eric Ten Hag wants to play a certain way here, and you respect that, and you sort of dissected why that's a good thing in regards to sticking to the principles. Weghorst won't be part of the squad in 2, 3, 4 years' time or whatever. He won't be part of the principle. So I just think with that option, change it. It's my one potential criticism of Eric Ten Hag today in terms of I know you prefer to play with Anthony Martial or a different type of striker. Weghorst is not that. You've got a Fellaini up front, not to be disrespectful or any way to him, but you have a certain set of tools up front. Use them for now. Okay, you don't need to worry about how we're going to play in 2, 3 years' time. You've got Weghorst up front. Get the ball in the box. And I just think missed a bit of a trick there.
I think with Weghorst, one thing we have to remember, Ten Hag's not against having a target man. He's used Haller, Huntelaar over the past few years at Ajax, and it's been all right. And I think the big problem for me, and we talked about this a few weeks ago when we were in the city at Scruffy's, we don't cross the ball. It's just something that we just don't do. And with how many people we commit to the attack, I think it's something we're going to over time learn to do again. And I know, because Ajax crosses the ball. Anthony used to love crossing the ball, from what I've seen.
I just think the one time we did, it hit his head.
Exactly. So I think we do have that ability to add to our game. I just don't know when that's going to be because right now it feels like we're so focused on pass, pass, pass. We have 6 guys in the attacking line, and they're all in a straight line. And to me, the way the Premier League's being played right now, you're Man City, you're looking for a cutback across the box, that's fine. You're Liverpool, you're definitely crossing that situation. It's just one of those things. It creates high value chances, and I'm all for it if we can do it. But
Look, I think the players learn from this, but ultimately the main person who has to and definitely will, and obviously no criticism, Eric Ten Hag. He'll see what works, what doesn't work, what works on certain occasions. He'll know what it's like going away to Arsenal on a big occasion, and the difference to that to when you play Brighton at home. He'll see these differences and he'll learn from them. He'll learn what works. So fingers crossed. Eric Ten Hag does take the positives out of this, but we'll go on to 3-2-1s now. The man we sort of haven't spoken. We've spoken about a very good defense today, or a good sort of base in defense. Obviously, we haven't conceded 3 goals. The one man we haven't spoken about, and a moment a lot of Man United fans dreamt of over recent months, is when Lisandro Martinez scores his first goal. It was a brilliant moment for him. It looked like it was going to be a good goal. Ultimately, like the Rashford goal, we sort of have to put to the side and sort of forget about it. But ultimately, I think, yes, we have conceded 3 goals. Just talk me through your thinking in regards to 3-2-1s. Just off my hunch is Lisandro Martinez. Just he had a lot to do. He's dealt with the physical battle. He was clearing headers and ultimately got a goal. So obviously, tough spot to do our 3-2-1s in regards to a disappointing defeat, but we have to do it. Lisandro Martinez, for me, would stick out.
Yeah, it's weird because our centre backs had a good game and we conceded 3 goals. Um, I think Lysandra's up there. I think the moment that Rashford provided means
Yeah.
something to me. Wegos's running for Rashford was pretty crucial, and De Gea also made a pretty
Big
crucial
saves.
save. 25 shots, not an easy day at the office. Distribution obviously a bit suspect, but yeah, I'm happy to give Lissandro the 3. What are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I'll say Lissandro Martinez for the De Gea is an interesting shout because I think so much of our criticism of the performance is playing out from the backwards, which he was a part
Yeah,
of, and ultimately the
what I'm
Saka
saying, yeah.
goal. I think the Saka goal, if that's us, like Rashford, we're not criticising Ramsdale, but with Saka's goal, we're criticising David De Gea, sort of
Can
thing.
you
So
Scott out of the chat, please? I don't want to see it.
Scott's here. Look,
If you can just no.
congratulations, Scott. Obviously, from It's a Football Thing. Make sure you go on our socials. You see all the links to It's a Football Thing. Look, congratulations, Scott. And not to sort of downplay the occasion, I think you've won the title now. I'm not putting any pressure. Not that any Arsenal fans or any Arsenal players are listening to this. I think that's a title winning title winning result, title winning moment. So fair play to Arsenal. I think the better team on the day. Well, no doubt the better team on the day, and deserved winners. Painful to say, but no, fair play. Obviously, Manchester United fans have Arsenal's back in regards to race against City, so we will support you in that. But enjoy your Monday, mate. I won't. But George here saying Rashford 3, Martinez for 2, Weghorst for 1. I'll probably go Rashford for 2. As I said, big moment and provided that threat. Maybe didn't do enough with the threat over the 90 minutes, but I thought it had something
Yeah.
about him. And look, I would look to De Gea for big moments in terms of 1 or 2 big saves, but the balanced performance, I think.
Wait. I've got the answer. It's Wan-Bissaka. Every
Solid.
time Martinelli had the ball today, I wasn't
Yeah.
worried for a moment. Obviously, suspect for the first goal.
Especially compare that to the other side when Saka had
Yeah,
the ball against Luke Shaw. You think, oh,
yeah,
something's going to happen here.
yeah.
Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, look,
I
well,
felt so
that's a shout.
comfortable today. I felt so comfortable. Martinelli, one of the probably the league's second, third best left winger right now.
Yeah, look, I
Um,
would look to Wan-Bissaka. Now, in a game like that, obviously, I used to play in central midfield, so I always look at the importance of that. Not to give points to Ericsson or McTominay, but just how that battle went, because obviously up against it in regards to being outnumbered, and it's not our first choice midfield pairing. So discussion away from 3-2-1, just in regards to their performance and the occasion. Because obviously Scott McTominay, I haven't turned on Twitter. I assume he's been blamed for the result. I thought he had a steady enough solid enough game. Nothing great, nothing bad. It was just he's
didn't
coming as
get
a
on the
squad
ball,
player.
Tom. Didn't get on the ball.
Yeah, but
He
and
doesn't, but he needs to.
yeah, but to blame him for the result, which I assume is what is happening, I don't think is the case.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to blame the whole team, but yeah, part of the problem for me is McTominay, but not a big part. I'm happy to spread that.
He needs to get on the ball. I remember, I think in the first half, I was checking the stats. I think there was one misplaced pass, and then it was 19 out of 20 passes, sort of thing, in the first half. And now ultimately, you need to make that 30 passes. I understand that's the criticism, but he wasn't horrible. A lot of
Oh
people want him to be horrible. That wasn't the case. Christian Eriksen, I thought, yeah, well, was Christian Eriksen? You maybe a
the same. It's the
little
same
bit more
problem, man.
energy and defensively,
He's
obviously.
he's never going to provide that. He's just not like
But that's what I'm saying. Christian Eriksen's not going to
yeah
provide that. McTominay's not
yeah
going to provide that.
yeah.
Now, we're not going to criticise Eriksen for that. We're going to crucify McTominay for it. I think
I'm
that's
happy to
where it needs.
criticize all of them. I'm happy to. I'm happy. Don't worry about that.
But just in that they were outnumbered. They were, I wouldn't say outclassed, but because they're outnumbered, professional footballers are going to sort of outplay you. So I think they were a little bit hard done by. But for the job they were assigned, I thought fair enough. They did enough without Casemiro there. So
Mm.
ultimately, sort of not enough for points. But I just thought just your opinion on their performances. But back to 3-2-1. So I think we'll go to Lissandro Martinez for 3, Marcus Rashford for 2, and I think it's a good shout with Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 1. In the live chat, if you agree, disagree, you can go and get your comments in. But Prem, it is past 6 o'clock in the morning. We'll start to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
But anything else sort of spring to mind from the performance or the game or the result, occasion? Talk to me.
Let's just talk. Let's just see. Let's use Arsenal as a point of reference now because we always talked about the City games. Whenever we verse City, that'll tell us how we're doing
Actually,
in the
sorry to
league.
interrupt, Prem.
Yeah.
The first goal, it was bad by
Yeah,
Wan-Bissaka.
it was bad. And anytime the ball's going to Wan-Bissaka at the back post,
Yeah.
it's going to be a goal. The only reason I'm willing to forgive this is because it was at the left back situation, and
Yeah, it looked weird. Yeah, it looked weird.
I hate these after set piece situations, the second ball situations, because I know teams don't train it or teams don't train it enough. But we see it with Liverpool with their fullback switch for corners as well. But they don't really train this situation enough where you're you're playing in a different position, and it's something you do at a schoolboy level. Just everyone just switch around positions, just learn something else for a little bit. And it's just one of those things. He's in that moment. He's thinking, if the ball comes to this guy, I'll
Yeah.
do something. He's not thinking, how do I stop this guy from getting the ball? But yeah, Wan-Bissaka at the back post. He's gonna
Yeah, no, it definitely did look weird, and ultimately, as I said, if that's Marcus Rashford, we're saying how good, what a header it is. Obviously, we're going to analyse the defensive side of things. Ed here saying Scott touches are pretty insignificant when you compare to Casemiro, a squad player at best, and not blaming him. Yeah, look, ultimately, for the squad player, if we came in and they don't score that second goal or that third goal, we're saying, okay, Casemiro suspended, came in, did his job, got the draw away at the Emirates. Ultimately, another moment sort of changes our opinion on that. But I agree that there is obviously there's a class difference.
30 million from Newcastle, Tom. What, 30 million for McTominay? You're not
What I
taking
would
that?
say, which I know the answer to because obviously playing football, but who did he go for? McTominay or Fred when he was decided on a big performance? Who did he go for? Fred or McTominay from the start? Now, ultimately, he chose Fred in the Manchester derby, so you could point the finger there. But in regards to that area of the pitch replacing Casemiro, obviously Casemiro can't be replaced by Scott McTominay.
I think
but from a trust point of view, he had to go McTominay over Fred.
Yeah, I think just looking at it that way, like you're not gonna be able to buy someone and tell them they're just sitting on the bench. Like it's a tough ask, especially from a midfielder.
That's where the debate of Fred and McTominay. That is why I sit.
I'm happy to keep
towards
McTominay in the squad, but
and that's not to
30
sell Fred.
million,
But if you
40
have to get rid of
million,
one, oh no,
Yeah.
with that price tag, you definitely have to consider it. Not just him, but McTominay will have to consider what he wants to do. Now, I think he's more content with being at Manchester United, being a squad player, than Fred would. And that's not a criticism of Fred. I just think they've grown up in different situations.
Yeah.
But Red Devil, good to see you, mate. We have to look forward to Carabao Cup semi-final. Look, I always look forward to the League Cup semi-final. Ultimately, if we get a trophy out of this season, forget title race, top four race, if Eric Ten Hag can get his hands on a trophy, that's ultimately exactly what we want as Man United fans. But Boxy, how Ten Hag managed these 2 games a week. We don't want to play the same 11 in every game, then start to falter. Team selection is key versus Forest, Reading, Leeds, Palace, Leeds, Barca, Forest, Leicester. Yeah, look, the Barcelona game, we were discussing that the other day in regards to that, is going to come around quick. And they're top of the Spanish league. I thought they were just like lingering in like 6th or 7th in terms of the reaction around Barcelona. They're obviously doing very well.
Do you remember, Tom, when Jose basically decided the Premier League was just a friendly competition when we were in the Europa League hunt, and we were just playing a whole second 11 for like 5-6 weeks?
Oh, and look, it's something we sort of alluded to at the start of the podcast in regards to it's something fans I don't really sort of want to accept and will accept. But the fixture pile, we all moan about it when the fixtures are set. How are we going to cope with this? And suddenly when it looks like we aren't coping with it, we're saying, what the hell is happening with these players? Well, we said that they're going to struggle with it just naturally, scientifically, they're going to struggle with it. Yeah. When we provide it with the evidence that they have struggled with it, we crucify them for it. And I just think, no, it is a tricky spot. We are the only English team in all 4 competitions. That is something to look forward to and celebrate, but it is something that we are going to sort of look back and think that sort of proved costly at times throughout the season. Maybe that's happening now. I'm not sure if they can get a break somewhere in and around some warm weather training somewhere, if there is a week off somewhere, if they're going to take advantage of that to recharge the batteries. I'm not sure. There's probably definitely no room for that. Maybe, I don't know when the next international break is. But maybe we need an international break. We always dread when it comes around, but maybe that's something we do need.
Yeah, I'm happy for Southgate not to take Rashford this time. Perfectly happy for him not to take any United players, But I think Jadon Sancho coming back could make a difference.
Well, yeah, he's definitely what Box makes it here. If Martial Sancho doesn't prove fitness reliability, it's an issue next season. If Ten Hag clearly doesn't trust Plestre, Alanga to Dortmund, that seems to be picking up a little bit of speed. That's an interesting one, but I'm sure we'll touch on that in another day. But look, Prem, before we unfortunately head off to work, which I'm got to go have a shower and get ready for work, unfortunately, this Monday morning, any other sort of thoughts spring to mind or anything you want to get off your chest?
No, I'm just looking forward to it. Well done to Arsenal. Think you're going to see Ten Hag learn from this. That's what I'm excited about, because when Ten Hag makes a mistake, he doesn't make it again.
No, that's very good observation, because the evidence that we do have that he does bounce back well. And now I've made the point he needs to bounce back from the disappointment at Palace. 1-1 draw, really disappointing result. That happens. I'm sure Arsenal. I'm sure they've drawn a game away from home this season.
Like what I said with Saka, if you're going to concede that, I have no quarrels with a free kick from a guy who does That's God's will. But yeah, the way we play over the 90, yeah, it was frustrating against Palace. It was frustrating today, but yeah, we'll build from this. We'll build from
Look,
this.
just compare to how some results and some performances have gone against big teams in recent years where, look, obviously Manchester City are a different kettle of fish in what they have done, but some of the results against Liverpool, well, what Arsenal have done to us other times in terms of sometimes they blitz you away with goals. Even Tottenham have sometimes embarrassed us. I don't think that's happening now under Erik ten Hag, and that's not
That
something to
was a bad day.
celebrate.
That was a bad day.
That's not something to celebrate in regards to, okay, we're performing better and we're not getting smashed. But ultimately, it is in terms of we can't sort of go win a Champions League at the moment. We need to take sort of small steps in that direction. And ultimately, Erik ten Hag is doing that. The fan base does need to be patient in terms of enjoying success when it comes. Part of that is sort of accepting when moments like this happen and dealing with it.
I
Arsenal
really
have been
hope these are growing pains. I really
Arsenal
hope
have been
they're
through
growing
this. Arsenal have been through this and been through a hell of a lot worse. They're on the verge of sacking Arteta. So, and that was a real thing. That wasn't just fair pressure. I think one or two more results and he was gone. So it is a game of fine margins. But in terms of moments like this, you do have to accept it, deal with it, learn from it, and move on. And what gives me hope is I do trust in Erik ten Hag to do that. Like if something like this happened under Jose Mourinho, I said, no, he's going to throw toys out of the pram. If it happened to Solskjaer, I said, oh, does he have what it takes to come back? If it happens to Antonio Conte, I think he'd walk out of the job. With Erik ten Hag, I have belief that he'll stick by it and sort of he'll relish this challenge. So if you are sort of dreading your Monday morning at work, please do leave a like on the video to cheer us up. That'll be very much appreciated. If you are in the UK, try and sleep well tonight. And hopefully your week starts off on a bit of a better note tomorrow. But Prem, thank you for joining us and replacing Larry. I'm going to have to get on the phone to him. I'm not sure what has happened. He said, yep, we're definitely going live. Make sure we go live. And then didn't hear from him in the second half. So hopefully all is okay in the Larry household. But I'm sure we'll probably go live tonight, maybe in about 12 hours' time after we've sort of sat on that for a day and sort of cleared our head. We'll probably go live tonight. So make sure you do stay subscribed if you haven't already. Click that button, hit a like on the video to cheer us up. And Prem, chat to you in a bit.
Easy as. Catch you later.
Have a good one.